Hey everyone, Christine Beatty here, christinebeattyequine.com. I want to just talk for a moment about uh, farming with horses alone and safety when we're hooking up to different implements without the help of a second person. So I'm just going to take a couple moments here and show you kind of what my usual routine looks like. I've got just a single diamond harrow out today, and I'm just going to show you how I work when I don't have another set of hands around to help me. Um, as much as it's certainly nice to have a second person around to help, it's not always reality, especially when we're farming with horses a lot. If it's something we're doing part-time or full-time, we don't always have the luxury of having another person around. So it's really important to have systems that work, that are easy, and that keep us safe, even when we're out and about by ourselves. So I'm going to kind of drive Tony around. I'm going to show you how I approach the harrow, how I come in. First thing I want to show you though is how I've got it laid out. So I've got the harrow kind of pointing the direction we want to go. I've got the chain hooked onto the front of it. I've got my single tree laid out in front of the implement, but it's not yet hooked up. So I want you to see here, I've got the center link on my chain. I have kind of laid on the ground right behind the single tree, but I haven't actually hooked that up yet. So my personal preference is to hook onto the single tree first, and then hook the implement on once my horse is fully hooked to the single tree. So a couple of prerequisites, I would say, to be able to do this safely. Obviously, your horse needs to have a really good wool. He needs to know the job. He needs to be super content just standing around waiting while you take the time you need to do whatever you need to do. So if your horse, pardon me, if your horse is in a hurry, if he doesn't stand well, you're not ready to be doing this alone. There's more work that needs to be done to get your horse to a point where you can trust him to be working by yourself. You can see Tony is super happy to just stand here for a while. He's got a foot cocked. He's just kind of watching the world going on. He's not in any sort of hurry. So that's the first thing that we need to have. Now, I like to do everything from behind the horse. I don't like to be moving around between his head and his hind end. So rather than leading him in on a lead rope and then coming to his hind end, I prefer to just drive him right in. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to just ground drive him out here, show you how I pull that little loop, how I approach the implement, and then we'll go ahead and hook him up. Tony, step. Walk on. So I want to aim to get him as close as I can so that we don't have to adjust too much. Walk on up. Yep, and hop. Ooh, good boy. Tony, haw. Yep, haw over. Nope. Tony, step haw. That's a boy. Whoa, good. Tony, back. Yep, back. And whoa, good boy. So notice how, as I brought him in there, he responded really nicely to me. I stop him before each change of direction. So when I need to change from forwards to backwards or from forwards to sideways, I take a little halt in between, just pause, then ask the next question. We're taking our time here. The last thing you want is to feel like you're in a hurry. So now what I like to do is pull down both traces. So I'm not gonna hook anything up until everything is pretty much right where it needs to be. Double checking over his harness, double checking over my setup. Everything looks good. So now the biggest thing is, as I'm hooking up, I want to make sure that I'm not trapping myself in any way. So when we pull out, I know I'm going to want to be on the left of this harrow. We're going to be turning pretty quick to the right. So I'm going to want to be on the outside of that turn. So I want to hook up the right side first and then the left so that I end up on that side that I already want to be working on. So right now, nothing is hooked up. I'm safe to walk in here. There's, if he were to walk off, I'm not going to get caught up in any sort of equipment. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm doing my best here to keep my lines untangled and off the ground. The last thing you want is to get your lines kind of in between your equipment or some such thing. So I'm going to hook up this side, make sure everything's free, cross over to the other side. At this point, if he were to step away, he would just be pulling that single tree from one trace. Not a big deal. Now I'm going to hook up the other side. I'm making sure that I am out from the single tree, so you don't want to be in here, right, hooking up where you're trapped between the tree and the horse. You want to be always on the outside. Make sure he knows I'm here, and we're going to hook up this other side. Good boy. Now I've got the single tree fully hooked up, so now the last piece is just to hook my implement onto the single tree. So I have everything set up in my yard with 3/8" chains. So whether it's the harrow, whether it's the sled, whether it's the snowplow, whatever it might be, everything's got a 3" chain on it. This is a 3" grab hook. So everything mixes and matches super easily. So all I'm going to do now, I already put the center link of the chain forward, and I'm just going to hook that link, making sure that my feet are out of the way, and I'm just going to hook it into my grab hook, like so. So now we're fully hooked to the implement. Nothing is in draft yet, but now when he walks off, he's going to take the harrow with him. A couple last things that I'll just mention, particularly where I'm working alone, but in general, good rules with them also. I always keep a lead rope handy. I drape it around my neck. I don't like keeping the lead rope tied to the horse because I can't necessarily reach it when I need it. So I like to keep the lead rope on me. I do keep his halter on underneath his driving bridle. And if I was working alone and I wasn't filming on my phone would be in my pocket. So my phone's always on my body just in case. And so that's, I'm not saying this is kind of the only way to do things, but that's what my system typically looks like. So I'm staying out of the way. My horse is happy. And now we're going to go drag some fields. So if you have any questions, throw them in the comments below. And I hope that's helpful for you. Tony, step.